Tornado recovery. Oklahoma communities clean up from last week's deadly tornadoes.
You can make it through COVID, you can make it through anything.
We'll ask a tornado expert if this season's tornado activity is normal.
When we're warmer than normal in the wintertime, we tend to have more tornadoes than normal.
We're also watching the rising Mississippi River and the threat of major flooding in Iowa later this week, and a real threat to drivers along Utah's canyon roads.
There is that potential for rocks falling down.
And if you couldn't see last night's amazing Aurora Borealis show, we'll bring you those lights.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. Cleanup continues in Shawnee, Oklahoma, where a tornado ripped through the city last week. Now some folks are reflecting on their emergency plans and the resilience born through a multi-year pandemic. Jameson Kiefover spoke to business owners to find out how they're doing.
Significant damage to Shawnee Colonial Estates. Now, the work to rebuild begins.
We didn't realize the extent until the sun came up and it really hit you. And I mean, by the grace of God, there were no injuries and all of our staff was safe.
Places like nursing homes have went through a lot in the last 3 years. To keep doors open and keep residents safe, this tornado is no exception.
We have talked many times and feel like if you can make it through COVID, you can make it through anything.
Within 7 hours, the staff relocated all 79 residents to other locations because they can't stay here.
This was probably the worst that I've traveled to, and I've traveled to many hurricanes and freeze events as well.
ServPro team members are clearing debris and showed the hardest hit areas where if someone didn't follow the safety plan, not everyone would have made it out safely. Those safety plans that went into effect here at OBU and throughout Shawnee are something officials say saved lives.
A survey that went through Shawnee, and one of the things that everyone felt really good about was the city responding to emergencies and disasters. And it showed. We had no major injuries and no deaths.
Something many people in Shawnee are saying, lives are more important than buildings and belongings. All that can be rebuilt.
Tornado season is well underway, and it has been an active one. Emily Gracie sat down with an expert from NOAA's Severe Storms Laboratory to find out if it's normal to see this many destructive tornadoes so early in the year.
So we've been above normal. We're above the usual number of deaths we have for the calendar year. Death tolls are kind of an odd statistic because most of them happen in a very few number of events. So there's no reason, we have no real reason to think that just because it's been a deadly early part of the season, that will continue down the future. But that doesn't mean it won't. It's just we don't have any, it's not really a good predictor of what happens in the future.
Are you seeing a trend to earlier months in the season having more tornadoes?
I think the biggest thing we're seeing is actually an increase in variability. So we've seen some really big early months of the year, but we've also seen some really small months as well.
Can you make any sort of assumption about why that is?
We know that when we're warmer than normal in the wintertime, we tend to have more tornadoes than normal. And when we're warmer than normal in the summer, we have fewer tornadoes than normal. You know, how we exactly relate that to long-term changes in the planet is not 100% sure, because while we might expect that from temperature considerations, we also know that the atmosphere responds and the patterns change.
Is there a shift now in where we're seeing the most frequency of tornadoes?
Okay, so not really. One of the things that's important to know is a tornado alley is not a well-defined term. And if anyone ever drew a map that said tornado alley is in the plains, they were implicitly including more information than just occurrence. The big thing that distinguishes the plains of the U.S. from pretty much any place on the planet is the very strong annual cycle and diurnal cycle for tornadoes. The fact that we're seeing more in the mid-south region now, we've seen that before, and we don't really have good explanations for those sort of short-term patterns.
And to see a full version of this interview, head over to YouTube and search the National Weather Desk. Harold discusses the warning system and how they are keeping up with tornadoes. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to be alerted when new videos are posted. when you are there. Well, all eyes are on the Mississippi River this morning as the water levels keep rising. Now, right here, this is northeast Iowa, where forecasters are expecting the worst flooding in 60 years due to snow melt upstream and heavy rain. The river is expected to crest here later this week. All that water will then continue downstream, threatening communities as it flows south. Well, the northern lights weren't so northern last night. These amazing pictures were taken from Yellowstone National Park. These colors were visible over a large portion of the northern hemisphere overnight. Simply gorgeous. Here's why. On Friday, NOAA says the sun let off a large burst of energy which has its own magnetic field. It has been moving through space, reaching Earth's magnetic field. Yesterday, when those two fields collide, they create a geomagnetic storm. We have reports people as far south as North Carolina can see the lights last night and early this morning. The lights were also visible over large portions of Europe. And now to Washington State, where the wildfire season seems so long ago, but a new report by the American Lung Association shows the effects linger even though the smoke is long gone. Holly Menino has more.
The American Lung Association releasing its 2023 State of the Air report.
We have made some good progress in cleaning up our air, especially the ozone pollution.
The report takes a look at air quality across the country, collecting data from air monitors in more than 900 counties. Every year, the organization issues a report card. This year's report comes with mixed news. Ozone pollution is improving, but particle pollution is not. Many Washington state counties received an F grade for particle pollution.
Almost all due to wildfire smoke, and there is some wood smoke from folks heating their homes during the winter.
There is one exception. Skagit County received an A grade.
It's a much flatter topography, so you very easily could have weather patterns that come in and will sweep the bad air out, so they don't have to deal with those same kind of issues.
Wildfires really taking a toll on our air quality and also our lung health. As a broader community, there are things we can all do to clean the air, including driving less and using less fossil fuels. Also this.
Don't burn anything. Anything that you are going to burn is going to put particle pollution in our air.
Many are hopeful with the reduction in ozone pollution. With action, particle pollution can also decrease, clearing the air for future generations.
Well, it's that time of year again when bears start making the rounds, looking for food in communities and trash cans. Abigail Verwick is in Reno, Nevada with more.
It's finally starting to warm up, and that means the bears are waking up. This neighborhood near Skyline and Cashill has seen bears from time to time, and the Nevada Department of Wildlife says that bears will instinctively go to where it's warmer and greener. They're urging the community to bear-proof their homes, but especially because we could see more bears in lower elevations this year. This is due to all that snow we have in the mountains. Experts say bears will come even lower and farther into more urban areas looking for food. This is a chime-in video from one of our viewers in South Lake Tahoe who actually caught a mama bear and her cubs hanging out. With a lot of communities in the mountains used to living with bears, they've gotten good at keeping bears wild and out of the trash. They use bear-resistant trash cans, remove bird feeders, and keep pet food inside.
So we're actually seeing the bears skip those areas and come down lower where we might not be as keyed in on the issue and have the infrastructure we need to keep them out. So we're doing a big push on our end to try to get people aware, try to get resources to those people to keep those bears out of that trash and keep them wild.
If you do come across a bear on your property, NDOW recommends using lights or even your car alarm to scare it off. Once the bear leaves, they ask you to go ahead and investigate what could have gotten that bear's attention to come onto your property.
And check this out. A water spout was spotted in Florida Friday afternoon. It made landfall and dissipated immediately. Since a water spout is considered to be a tornado once it moves on shore, the National Weather Service immediately issued a tornado warning for the Broward County area. The winds did pick up some chairs and, some umbrellas on the beach before it dissipated, but the tornado warning was lifted soon after that. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll take a look at how officials in Georgia are working to limit the impact climate change is having on oceans, plus tips on how you can keep yourself and your car safe during severe weather.
We're looking at the rain continuing up towards areas in northern New England throughout the day on Monday. And then notice the chance for showers Monday afternoon all throughout the Northeast as we are in a very unsettled pattern. Temperatures only running in the 40s and 50s. Tuesday as well. Lots of clouds throughout New England. Scattered showers throughout the afternoon. As we take a look at the temperatures for the day Monday, very chilly. 40s north, we're looking at 50s to maybe near 60 degrees in some spots south.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Up and down the 95 corridor, lots of 40s to around 50 to begin the day. By about lunchtime, we're going through the 50s and kind of chilly for this time of year. A breeze going as well. Can make it feel a little cooler than these low and mid 60s and some 50s in the higher elevations. Could even see a sprinkle or two in some of those higher elevations as the latest weather maker kind of gyrates over portions of the Maritimes of Canada and New England. That's the scene here.
Well, for the start of the week, we'll see additional cloud cover across the southeast for areas of central Georgia and the Carolinas. Strong to severe storms possible Monday afternoon for parts of the east coast of Florida, including central and south Florida. And then we dry things up overnight into Tuesday morning with more storms in the forecast for parts of Florida heading through your Tuesday. Temperatures stay warm across South Florida. Will be in the mid 80s and the 60s for the rest of the southeast.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Oklahoma saw severe weather last week, including hail, high winds, and tornadoes. We heard about damages to homes, schools, and other structures. But what about cars? Since severe weather can really strike at any time, there is a chance you could be in your car when a dangerous storm rolls through. Sam Gelfeld spoke with experts to learn about driving safely in severe weather.
Riley Mansuetti says severe weather is dangerous for all vehicles, regardless of size.
Right now, we really are in that season of temperature changes causing extreme weather like tornadoes and extreme hail and thunderstorms and rain.
Zag Auto Works owner Zach Ramon sees the aftermath up close. How well is the average car equipped to be able to handle something like that?
They're not. They're only meant to essentially keep you out of the weather.
Hail is a fairly obvious danger to vehicles.
There's not much that you can do if you don't have a parking garage or some type of covered parking.
You just got to hope that insurance is going to cover it then.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's also weather you can't outrun.
The velocity of the hail will cause more damage the faster that you go.
When it comes to driving in heavy rain, the danger doesn't always come from the water.
There's so many vehicles that are leaking oil, and it's happening on the highways, the roadways, and so the first 20 or 30 minutes, it brings all of that oil to the top, and oil and water do not mix.
Ramon says the early stages of rainstorms create the greatest risk of hydroplaning, when your tires drive over the water and not the road.
In that type of scenario, you let off the gas.
Nothing is worse for a car than flooding, especially once water gets into the engine block.
You're going to have the engine rebuilt or replaced.
But don't think that your lifted pickup truck is better equipped to ford a flood than a family sedan.
Driving through water is never advisable for any motorist, regardless of the height of their vehicle. As little as 12 inches of moving water can sweep most vehicles off the road, and that's actually a leading cause of storm-related deaths.
Above all, if you don't want weather to damage your car, just use common sense.
Make sure all of your windows are up.
In Utah, the risk to cars isn't just snow, rain, and ice. Officials are warning drivers that falling rocks are also a real threat on canyon roads. And as Christina Flores explains, that has all to do with the weather.
While driving up for a day of skiing, Kathy Palmer was looking out for hazards.
I was just really concerned with avalanches, and it seemed like that was mitigated.
No avalanches right now, but rocks are coming down the mountain. How was your ski day?
Real good. Yeah. It was real good.
Scott Keller spotted a few.
I didn't see any rocks falling. I've seen rocks on the road, but they're out of the way. And I do watch to see if any rocks are coming down.
UDOT is warning drivers to keep an eye out for what they call wet slides, big chunks of falling snow that often bring down rocks.
The ground is saturated, so there is that potential for rocks falling down, and they can be smaller, they can be bigger boulders.
UDOT's John Gleason says UDOT crews patrol canyon roads looking for potential wet slides and falling boulders. While it's hard to predict where they will fall, they will remove those that are obvious hazards.
There was a big rock that we were concerned would come down, and thought it was a matter of time, and so we actually went up there with the explosives, closed down the road, and brought that rock down.
The Georgia Aquarium in Atlanta is part of a group working on a climate initiative called Ocean Visions. Its focus is on climate change and how it impacts our oceans. Meteorologist Ryan Miranda went to the aquarium to find out more about what they're doing.
Seeing the dolphins, stingrays, jellyfish, and eels at the Georgia Aquarium is an electric experience for all members of the family. But if you dive deeper past the exhibits, you'll find the Ocean Climate Solutions Center. It's the only one of its kind in the U.S. Its focus, curbing threats to public health from the climate crisis.
And so on a typical day, we're really trying to use the center as a sort of think tank to sort of help test and identify innovative and equitable ocean-based solutions to the climate crisis.
Courtney McGeechee is the director of the center, working to build a wave of support for the life that lies in and outside of the aquarium. When we think about climate change, we often think about the atmosphere, but the ocean also plays a huge role in the warming of the earth. The ocean is actually one of the main sources of the oxygen in the air that we breathe every day, like on land.
The trees provide the oxygen and they also absorb carbon dioxide and store some of it. Well, there are kelp forests and other plant life in the ocean that provides the same system. So that's the biological pump of the ocean.
And if our oceans didn't exist, the world would be much warmer and there would be more carbon dioxide in the air, as the ocean is currently the main storage device of our carbon emissions. But excess carbon in the ocean isn't a good thing either. So what are some of the solutions that are being brought about in this unique operation?
There are different types of solutions. So there are technological advances such as ocean alkalinity enhancements or different technologies that can sort of mimic the natural solubility pump of the ocean. But there are also nature-based solutions such as mangroves, seagrasses, and seabeds that naturally trap and store carbon. We want to be really thoughtful about exploring all of our options.
Well, there are those who argue the increase in global temperatures could actually have a positive effect. We're talking about baseball fans here who are reacting to a recent study that found an increase in temperatures is leading to more home runs. Theron Zahn has more.
Now Yelich deep into left center. Way back. She's gone.
A new study suggests one reason why sluggers may be hitting it out of the park a little more often: climate change.
There is a pretty simple physical mechanism going on here, which is that when temperatures rise, the air gets less dense, meaning that there is less air resistance for balls flying through the air.
The study, led by Dartmouth College scientists, analyzed 100,000 major league games and more than 200,000 balls. They say games played in warmer temperatures can lead to more home runs because of a reduction in ballpark air density.
We were able to isolate the role of climate change by using what we call climate model simulations.
Christopher Callahan, the lead author on the study, says since 2010, more than 500 home runs can be attributed to global warming. Over the last 40 years, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says the average U.S. temperature in June, July, and August has increased by more than 2 degrees. Scientists say outdoor stadiums like Wrigley Field in Chicago, which host a lot of day games, will likely see larger increases in home runs over enclosed stadiums. Home runs have seen previous surges, like in 2019, when the MLB even changed the size of its baseballs to decrease the distance of travel. ESPN's Buster Olney says, whatever the reason, an increase in home runs is good for the game.
We saw at the end of last year when Aaron Judge was chasing the American League record for home runs. Everybody in baseball was watching that. Fans were excited by that.
Very true. We'd love to connect with you. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan the QR code on the bottom left of your screen. And as we head to break, some of the beautiful sights from Tulip Town in the Pacific Northwest.
Well, a very good Monday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael taking a look at your weather story across the Midwest. We might see a few light showers here and there, but no major weather event for us for the day today. And temperatures staying on the cooler side of things for your Monday. Looking ahead into your Tuesday. Got a few showers across the southern Great Lakes and more rain starting to move into the plains from the west. And as we get on into your Wednesday, temperatures slowly trying to warm up for most of us with sunshine across most of the middle of the Midwest.
I'm meteorologist Siobhan Anders. Well, we are seeing some cloud cover starting out on your Monday. We are going to see some cool temperatures, though. Temperatures are going to be in the upper 40s to the mid 50s as we go into early Monday morning. However, it's going to start getting warmer as we progress through the next 24 hours. We will begin to see the moisture coming back, and it does look like we're expecting a high here in San Antonio of about 68 degrees for your Monday. Other than that, there is more rain in our forecast as we continue to see rain Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Cooler than normal temperatures continue across the west, where we're only in the mid-50s for parts of the Pacific Northwest from Seattle to Boise. Still very hot in parts of Arizona and Nevada, but this is also where we're going to see some thunderstorms along a stationary front in the Four Corners. However, that new cool front moving through, bringing some snow to the Bitterroot and the Sawtooth Mountains and the Northern Rockies. That's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Soggy moments in the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore areas during the weekend. These mammatus clouds were spotted south of Baltimore. While they can form near cumulonimbus clouds, the culprit cloud of severe thunderstorms, mammatus clouds are not responsible for severe weather. But this sunrise and clouds are responsible for this beauty in Jonesboro, Tennessee, complete with a sun pillar.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
Well, if you have dogs in your home, you may have a leg up when it comes to knowing if rain is in the forecast. We turn again to Theron Zahn with the explanation.
Weather instruments can tell you about an approaching storm, but did you know you likely have a weather instrument at your house you didn't even know about? That would be your dog. Dogs are very sensitive to changes in air pressure. Also, their ears can hear approaching storms from far away, and changes in the electrostatic energy in the atmosphere can cause your dog to even start sniffing before a storm approaches. So pay close attention to your pet. They can be one of your best weather predictors.
And a quick reminder to check out our new podcast right there, Off the Radar. Our new episode all about using meteorology to solve crimes drops tomorrow. You can find Off the Radar wherever you get your podcasts. We will be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we'll take a look at the possibility of historic flooding along the Mississippi River. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Monday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.